Hey everyone! Today we'll be talking about the 6 kingdoms of living things. Hello world, I'm Christopher Rodriguez. I'm one of the creators of Animals in Time. I'm not going to go all mad sciencey on you, but I am going to give you quick explanations of common scientific topics. I'll be giving you the what, the how, and the why you should care about all these subjects. This series will also correspond with Animals in Time Volume 1. You do not need to be using Animals in Time resources to benefit from these videos. Let's get started!
Next week, we'll be talking about the different kingdoms specifically. There are 5.
You might not know this, but the 5 kingdoms are old news. There are 6 kingdoms that hold all the living things on Earth. You learned about the kingdoms last week, along with the other classifications of living things.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species.
The kingdoms are where we start to separate organisms based on their similarities and differences. The 6 kingdoms of living things are Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, Bacteria, Archaea, and Protista. Let's start with the kingdom Animalia. Animalia is just Latin for the animals. You can probably name a lot of organisms in this kingdom. There's horses, cows, dogs, lizards, monkeys, slugs, spiders, dragonflies, lions, deer, eagles, blue jays, hawks, frogs, sharks, whales, bats, and even humans. Basically, if you see something moving, it's probably in the kingdom Animalia. Next is the kingdom Plantae. Plantae is just Latin for the plants. Again, you probably know a lot of plants. There's grass, daisies, sunflowers, birch trees, cherry trees, oak trees, tomato vines, all plants. Now, most plants are green and have leaves and roots in the ground, but some don't. Those are the tricksy ones. Now let's talk about the kingdom Fungi. Fungi is the plural of fungus, so it's not funguses, it's fungi. Now, fungi are a little more confusing, and they sound really nasty. You've probably seen mushrooms before, right? Even though they might just look like really weird looking plants, they're not in the kingdom Plantae. They're in the kingdom Fungi. I don't know about you, but I used to go around my old house swinging my lightsaber and knocking off any mushrooms I could find, thinking I was saving the world. Unfortunately, I wasn't. The part of the mushroom sticking out of the ground is only really the flower. The actual mushroom is underground, a huge maze of root-like threads that spread everywhere, searching for food, water, and nourishment. It's terrifying. Now, let me tell you a story about a little flower and a little mushroom. They were planted right next to each other, but the little flower did not like the mushroom and she didn't want to be his friend. Finally, the mushroom just came up and asked her, "Why don't you want to be my friend? I'm a fun guy." Now we have the kingdom Bacteria. I'm not going to ask you if you've ever seen any bacteria, because I know you haven't. It's strictly impossible. Why? Because bacteria are way too tiny. Take the smallest thing you can think of and cut it in half. Then cut that in half again, and again, and again, and again, and it'll still be much bigger than any bacteria. Bacteria have just one cell, while most plants and animals, even you and me, can have trillions of cells. Even though bacteria sound kind of nasty, and some can make you sick, a lot of bacteria are actually good for you. For example, you can find a lot of really healthy bacteria in yogurt, which makes you grow big and strong. Oh yeah. Next is the kingdom Archaea. You might confuse Archaea with bacteria because, like bacteria, Archaea are super tiny. And just like bacteria, Archaea only have one cell. The main difference between Archaea and bacteria is what the outside of the cell, or the cell membrane, is made of. We'll learn about the cell membrane next week. Finally, we have the kingdom Protista. And like Archaea and bacteria, Protista are super small. But even though Protista are super small, They're much bigger than bacteria and archaea. A lot of cells, I know. But we'll be learning about cells next week. See, animal and plant cells are much bigger than archaea and bacteria cells. And Protista cells are about the same size as cells of animals and plants. Even though Protista only have one cell, they can come together to make really big structures. Seaweed and kelp might look like they're plants, but they're actually millions and millions of Protista coming together. I know, they're very tricksy. Now let's see how much you've learned. I'm going to give you an organism, and you have to put it in the correct kingdom. Let's see, your organism is Barrand the bear. Well, let's see, Barrand is pretty big, which means he's probably not an archaea, bacteria, or Protista. He's not green, and he doesn't have lots of root things, so he's probably not in fungi or plantae. So that means he's in Animalia. He's an animal. Who would have guessed? And that's all the kingdoms. Animalia, plantae, fungi, archaea, bacteria, and Protista. You just learned about every kind of organism on Earth. Again, go tell your parents. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Quick Snips with Chris. Remember, this is one of a 24-part series explaining common scientific topics in a way everyone can understand. If you like this video, come back next week for the next one. You know where to find me.